perfect wild rice, it does the weirdest thing when it's perfectly cooked. So here are 7 different ways to make the perfect wild rice with like zero drama. Choose your own adventure. No burnt, mushy, or uneven rice here, folks. Like, seriously, just the tips, tricks, and hacks that you need for perfect wild rice every single time. Plus, my foolproof cheat code, which works really on any rice or grain. Here are the procrastinator-friendly instructions for cooking wild rice. But do stick around. Please stick around. I'm going to show you how to cut cooking time in half, plus storage tips and so much more. So let's start off with the stovetop method. Are you team seal and simmer or team free the stream? New to cooking wild rice? Well, no lid is a good start for no boilovers, monitoring the rice, kind of, just more control. Full Janet Jackson. For cooking it uncovered, you're going to add 1 cup of rice to 4 cups of liquid to a pot. Optionally, you can add in a little bit of oil or some butter to prevent sticking. You want to bring that to a boil. Now, this is important. Bring it to a boil and then to a low simmer. That's really, really key. Stovetop rice is... well, it comes with a high scorch risk. Let's just say that. So, plot twist, wild rice, not actually rice. And you're going to want to stay tuned to learn exactly what it is. But let's get back to cooking it, okay? Cook it for 45 minutes or so and stirring it occasionally. If the liquid has cooked off, that's okay. Sometimes that happens. The liquid is cooked off and the rice is not finished. Add in a 4th cup of hot liquid and just keep it cooking. And here is the weird thing that wild rice does when it's properly cooked. Most of the rice will split and some of it will curl back when it's ready. That means, hey, I'm ready to eat. But more on that later. So drain off any extra liquid, that's okay. Return it to the stove and you're just gonna fluff the rice with a fork. Let it rest for about 5 minutes and then we're gonna fluff it again, so double fluff, and then serve it. It's ready to go. For cooking it covered, you want just 3 cups of liquid. Because you're trapping that steam, you don't need as much. The other uncovered method, like it's steaming off, right? But you do want to check it a few times at the start. That trapped steam also means it can turn your low simmer into a boil, which you do not want. The stovetop method is generally great for plump, chewy rice that shines in peel-offs and most side dishes. I'm going to give you pairing ideas for each method that I'm discussing here. So more info on that, plus tasting notes and nutrition, all coming up, so stay tuned. Okay, so the next 2 methods are in the oven. One, using a pot like a Dutch oven. Try not to laugh there. Or a hack version like a sheet pan. The Dutch oven method is very like set it and forget it. Another great beginner method. You want to heat the oven at 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Like any stovetop oven safe pot with a tight fitting lid will work here. You don't need a Dutch oven, but you're going to add 1 cup of wild rice and 3 parts very hot liquid. Oh, and a teaspoon of oil or some butter to help prevent sticking here too. That'll also help. You're going to bake it for 60 minutes. Then you're going to stir it, add more liquid if you need, cover it and cook it for another 30 minutes. But I recommend checking on it at the 15-minute mark. It might be ready before that. I typically add no more than 1/4 cup broth or liquid at a time when it needs more liquid. And then just go ahead and remove that pot and the lid and be careful, it's hot. I'm saying that because I mess this up all the time. Let it rest for 5 minutes, fluff it again before serving, and there you go. Remember, 2 fluffs. The Dutch oven bakes up perfect plump kernels for casseroles or risotto adjacent bakes, if you watched one of my recent recipes. It's a really, really simple, easy method for making wild rice. So now we're gonna do the sheet pan method, which is like sort of the hack version of a Dutch oven. So using a sheet pan, you want to size where the rice, when you put it on the pan and when you add the liquid, it's covered about at least by a 1/2 inch of that hot liquid. You're gonna need 1 cup of wild rice and 3 cups of the hot liquid. So the key here is you want to cover it with foil and you really want to crimp those edges to prevent as much steam as you possibly can from escaping while it's baking. So you're kind of making your sort of hack version of a Dutch oven. Again, bake the rice for 1 hour at 375 degrees Fahrenheit and, sheet sheet pan, that is. I forgot to mention you can also add oil and butter here to prevent sticking. So like the Dutch oven method, you want to give it a stir after the hour mark and then bake it for another 30 and, check on it in 15 to see if it's done. The sheet pan method is great for an even, chewy rice that's just shines in salads or stuffed vegetables, so definitely try that out. For those of you with a small appliance fetish, here's how to do it in an Instant Pot or a rice cooker, or even a slow cooker. For the Instant Pot, you want to add 1 cup of wild rice and 1 1/2 cups of liquid. I recommend adding 1 teaspoon of oil for this method. I mean, some of the other ones is a little optional, but I think you definitely want it for this one. Oh, and so since you're so impatient and you need it in an instant, soaking your wild rice is another great way to cut cook time. You can actually soak it overnight and it will cut the cook time in half. More on that later, along with nutritional info and some other tips on storage and all the things you need. But let's just go over the cooking methods right now. So you're gonna go ahead and close and secure the lid and then turn that steam release knob to sealing. Cook it at high pressure for 20 minutes, followed by 10 minutes of natural release, which is the worst thing to say. Hate saying that. When the cooking stops and the pot switches from cooking to keep warm, you want to leave that knob still in the sealing setting. So give it 10 minutes and the knob will eventually drop from the decrease in pressure. Then turn the knob to venting, the quick release method, and carefully open the lid. Fluff and let it rest for 5 minutes. So we're doing that every single time, right? You cook it, you fluff it, you let it rest, then you fluff it again, and then you serve. Every single method. Do it that way. I'm gonna still keep saying it, but just so you know. Okay, so why does making stuff in the Instant Pot always sound dirty to me? I don't know, that natural release, no. The great thing about the Instant Pot, soft, plump, kernels, oh boy. Great for soups and stews and also for freezer prep. So if you want to prep it, there you go, meal preppers. For the rice cooker method, you want to add 1 cup of wild rice and 2 cups of hot liquid. Definitely coat the pot with a teaspoon of oil or some butter. I think it's really important when you're using a rice cooker. And then you go ahead and press cook and it'll take about an hour, but check on it in 45 minutes and just kind of see where it's at. Again, if you need more liquid, go ahead and add in 1/4 cup of hot liquid, cook it a little bit longer as needed. And then you know what you do when it's done? You know, right? You fluff it, you let it rest for 5 minutes, and then you fluff it again and serve it. I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm sorry. The thing that's great about a rice cooker, you just get these nice, even grains that are great for grain bowls and meal prep and just everyday sides. For a slow cooker, like a crock pot, you need 1 cup of rice and 2 1/2 cups of liquid. You're going to add 1 teaspoon of oil or some butter here. Again, prevent that sticking. You want to cook it on low for 6 hours, checking on it occasionally after the 4-hour mark. And again, depending on how it's doing, if you need more liquid, add in a 1/4 cup and stir it up and cook it for another 30 minutes if it's not done. But when done, leave the pot on warm, fluff, set for 5 minutes, fluff again, and serve. The slow cooker method, which is one of my favorites because you just kind of set it and forget it, delivers a tender grain that's wonderful for casseroles, wonderful for soups, and also stuffings. There's really nothing you can't put wild rice in. Now for the Foolproof method, which is a way that I've used. It's basically a pasta method hack. I've used this for a long time. It's no ratio anxiety from rice to liquid. You have to try really hard to mess it up. I did this about 7 years ago for barley and found it was really helpful for those nuttier, tougher grains. And people really found it helpful. So you can do it for wild rice too. You can do it for wild rice, but wild rice, still not rice. Okay, so here's how you do the pasta method. Bring 6 cups of liquid to a boil. Add in 1 cup of the wild rice. Let it simmer uncovered for about 45 minutes. By now, you know how to tell when it's done, right? You want to look for the curled back wild rice. It's plump, it curls back, it's done and ready to eat. So just look for that in the pot. And then, just like every other method, drain any excess liquid, which is a lot in this case, return it to the pot and the stovetop, fluff it up, let it rest for a few minutes, fluff again, and serve. This method is really great for distinct grains that you're going to use in a salad or a grain bowl or a stuffing mix. You can use this method on really any rice or grain, including barley, farro, quinoa, and even brown rice. It's a really flexible method. Okay, I've been talking about it, I've been hitting at it, like, what is wild rice? Well, it's not a true rice. It's actually a seed. Like rice, you must rinse it though. Dust and ash are not seasonings, people. You want to rinse your rice. Even the imposter rice, like wild rice, which is a seed. And how do you cut cook time in half? Well, here's how. If you soak it first, you can actually cut that cook time. I mean, even soaking it 30 minutes will cut it a little bit, but soaking it overnight is really what helps you. It'll actually cut that cook time in half, and future you will thank you. The key is you want to cover the wild rice in at least 2 inches of liquid and park it in the fridge, because bacteria, bad. Overnight only, no longer. This is not kombucha, it's wild rice. Cover by 2 inches, put it in the fridge, cook it the next morning. Oh, one thing that's really important is you do want to soak it in broth for extra flavor. You can use water, but broth just really seasons rice, any rice, especially wild rice, so well. You just want to drain it and rinse it before you cook it if you did the soak beforehand. And only soaking it not only trims the time it takes to cook it, but it also trims the cups. So if you're soaking it overnight, it actually drops that cooking ratio from 1 cup of rice and 4 cups of liquid down to 3 cups when you're actually cooking it. So that'll actually save you time and a little bit more liquid in the future. Oh, and BT dubs, 1 cup dry wild rice cooks up to be about 3 to 4 cups when fully cooked. So now you know it's done cooking when most of that wild rice has split and curled back, and it's chewy and has a hearty texture. So you want to learn a little bit about the science around that? Okay, so cooking wild rice is basically water absorption plus starch, and I always mess up this word, gelatinization. Those are the 2 things that are kind of going on when you're cooking wild rice. As the rice is heated, so this is what's happening. So as the rice is heated in liquid, water penetration softens that grain's structure. With enough heat and moisture, starches start to absorb that liquid and swell and cause what's basically a blossoming effect. That's when the tougher outer bran of the wild rice breaks open, curls, and reveals that cream colored endosperm inside. So if you're looking at the rice and you look at like what it looks like before it's cooked and what it looks like after it's cooked, that you can see that white endosperm. That's now engorged from the cooking, which is why overcooking it is an issue. Those same starches start to then break down. And that's what results in like a really mushy, unpleasant rice experience. So wild rice has this like nutty flavor that is great in soups, casseroles, salads, pilafs, so many different ways to use it. You can pair it with mushrooms, pair it with dry fruit, maple syrup, even citrus. Basically, it's down to mingle. Savory, sweet, or whatever you're serving, wild rice is here to play. And as I kind of mentioned before, for more flavor, cook it in stock or toast it lightly before you add it to the water. These are ways that you can impart more flavor than just adding straight up water. So why should you eat more wild rice? Well, here's a little thing about it. You don't really need a lot of reasons. Wild rice is something you should definitely add to your grocery list. It is basically a multivitamin packed with magnesium, zinc, phosphorus, and like B vitamins, and also it's lighter in calories than some of those other rice options. So wild rice is super nutritious and lighter in calories. I mean, are you not at the store buying wild rice yet? Like, you should be there now. It's also high in protein and fiber. So it kind of has everything going for it, and there's no reason you should not eat more of it because it's gluten-free and low glycemic too. So it's a solid fit for really any diet, even the fake ones. Do you want to know how to store it? Okay, so uncooked wild rice, keep it in an airtight container in a cool, dark place like, cupboard, and it can be stored this way for up to 2 years. Now, once it's cooked, keep it in the refrigerator for like up to a week, or you can freeze it up to 6 months. But wild rice is pretty much here for any of your meal prep scenarios. So buy some wild rice, people. Which method you use? I want to know which one you're going to try first. If you've used some of these already, like, drop a comment. I want to know. Team Dutch, team pasta, general rice trauma, like whatever your story is, I want to know. Tell me what you've done and haven't done with wild rice and what you're going to be willing to try. Tell me below, and I'll see you soon.